You may have seen in the news recently that the actress Ellen Page has come out as trans and renamed herself to a one Mr. Elliot Page. And this was done as is traditional via Twitter and was very well received. Here you can see what he had posted to Twitter. And I just wanted to go through it and address some of the points that have been raised in it, because there are lots of unanswered questions, and this presents us with a kind of riddle that really, I think, these questions do deserve answers. But anyway, Elliot says, "Hello, friends. I want to share with you that I am trans. My pronouns are he, they, and my name is Elliot. I feel lucky to be writing this, to be here, to have arrived at this place in my life. I feel overwhelming gratitude for the incredible people who have supported me along this journey. I can't begin to express how remarkable it feels to finally love who I am enough to pursue my authentic self. I've been endlessly inspired by so many in the trans community. Thank you for your courage, your generosity, ceaselessly working to make this world a more inclusive and compassionate place. I will offer whatever support I can and continue to strive for a more loving and equal society." So far, nothing particularly egregious or outstanding. Thank you to the people around her who have been encouraging her on this journey that she's going through, and terribly grateful for all of this. And she wants to help make a more inclusive and compassionate society that is also more loving and equal. On the surface, there's nothing much to criticize there, although I think that there are definite questions around what compassion, inclusivity, and equality actually mean in these contexts, because these words are generally used as, honestly, platitudes. But when you actually dig deeper into it, is it compassionate? Is it equal? Is equality good? Is it inclusive? The answer to these questions is often no, and that's a different topic for another time. This is where I found it getting really strange. He says, we've got to be very politically correct, remember, "I also ask for patience. My joy is real, but it's also fragile. The truth is, despite feeling profoundly happy right now and knowing how much privilege I carry, I am also scared. Scared of the invasiveness, the hate, the jokes, and of violence. To be clear, I am not trying to dampen a moment that is joyous and one that I celebrate, but I want to address the full picture. The statistics are staggering. The discrimination towards trans people is rife, insidious, and cruel, resulting in horrific consequences. In 2020 alone, it has been reported that at least 40 transgender people have been murdered, the majority of which were Black and Latinx trans women." So we'll pause there for a second. I find it very interesting how one's joy can be real, but also fragile, because it makes it sound like what is happening is something is being projected out into the wider world, and we are being expected to comply. And if we don't comply, then this is the fragility that we are encroaching on, where we're shattering the joy for not agreeing. But fundamentally, are we being asked to agree with something that our eyes will tell us is true? Are we going to be expecting Mr. Elliot Page to embrace life as a man, which I assume that Ellen Page has transitioned into a man called Elliot Page, although he doesn't expressly say that he is a man, but he's using the pronouns he, they, and has the name Elliot. So I think that we're supposed to assume that they're a man, but they are trans, which is its own category, I suppose, and not just a state of transitioning from one category to another. Again, many unanswered questions. But if we don't all go along with this, then are we all somehow morally culpable in the lack of joy that this person feels? I don't know if I appreciate having this kind of obligation placed on me when I didn't consent to it, I didn't sign up for it, and I really have doubts about just the truth of what is being said here, which we'll get to in a minute. I'm not suggesting this person doesn't feel like they're trans or anything like that, so the gods of YouTube don't accuse me of misgendering. But I think there are underlying truths here that we're not really addressing. But the statistics are correct. The statistics around transgenderism are not they don't make me optimistic, and I agree that things have to be done. People need to be helped. We do need to use compassion, but there are multiple ways of looking at the concept of compassion that are not simply adopting the far left-wing narrative towards trans people. Not that I'm suggesting we need to take like a heavy conservative or religious aspect to it either, but there are genuine questions. To the political leaders he carries on, who work to criminalise trans healthcare and deny our right to exist, and to all of those with a massive platform who continue to spew hostility towards the trans community, very combative language that's being used here, this is unequivocal, you unleash a fury, you have blood on your hands. You unleash a fury of vile and demeaning rage that lands on the shoulders of the trans community, a community in which 40% of trans adults report attempting suicide. Enough is enough. You aren't being cancelled. You are hurting people. I am one of those people and won't be silenced in the face of your attacks. So up until this moment, I don't think anyone actually knew that Ellen Page was actually Elliot Page, a trans man. Ellen Page is a particularly feminine looking person, is only 5'1". I don't think he's ever been mistaken for a man. You know, it's not something I would imagine happens on a daily basis. But now that he has declared, again, I have to use the pronouns, don't I? Now, and again, it's not a natural thing for me to do. By looking at the person, I don't associate the pronoun he with that person. So I have to now be retrained into all of this. But this person, Elliot Page, is adopting a mantle of victimhood that they personally have not experienced. They personally have not been victimized for being transgender, and unless they had told us, how would we know? They would be treated as a cisgender woman, and so none of the problems that do exist within the transgender community are something that they have experienced. So adopting falsely, it seems, at least in some sense, the mantle of being an oppressed victim for this millionaire ex-actress is kind of hollow. And I don't want to be mean about this, but I don't believe that you've been persecuted for being trans, Mr. Page. But anyway, he says, I love that I'm trans, I love that I'm queer, and I hold myself close and fully embrace who I am. The more I dream, the more my heart grows, the more I thrive. I mean, these sound just like platitudes, like birthday card platitudes to me. But anyway, to all the trans people who deal with harassment, self-loathing, and abuse and threat of violence every day, I see you, I love you, and I'll do everything I can to change this world for the better. So declaring themselves an activist. When I had written this down, that had 300,000 retweets, nearly 2 million likes, all the love in the world in the comments. So there's a lot of reinforcement for this. And I suppose you can say, well, coming out as trans in a very public way on Twitter, when you have such a large following and such a large audience, is a very scary thing to do. So it's nice that people have been supportive. And yeah, it is. But let's talk about like the people who are criminalizing trans healthcare. Because again, this comes down to the question of compassion. So this, as we covered on the podcast recently, is a one Kira Bell, a 23-year-old woman who had begun taking puberty blockers before detransitioning because she decided to transition to a male when she was 16. She had a double mastectomy, and this is permanent. This is something that's going to be with her for the rest of her life. And she had gone into taking the hormones after only 3 hours of consultation. She's very, very angry about this. And it was on this case that a High Court judge ruled that it, quote, it is unlikely that a child aged 13 or under would be competent to give consent to the administration of puberty blockers. It is doubtful that a child aged 14 or 15 could understand and weigh the long-term risks and consequences to the administration of puberty blockers. Real damage is being done to people like Kira Bell, but it seems that Elliot Page would oppose any kind of resistance to the advancement of the agenda of promoting transgenderism, even though there are people who I guess we could in some way describe as victims of the process, because it seems that they were rushed through it. They weren't at any point encouraged to question whether they really were transgender, especially when you're in the midst of a kind of cultural moment where transgenderism gets such a lot of attention in the media. And it doesn't seem like Elliot Page wants to talk about the people who fall outside of the sort of the perfect narrative that has been constructed. Does the UK state and Kira Bell fall into the category of political leaders who are working to criminalise trans healthcare and deny their right to exist? Because I think there's one way of arguing that that's the case. And yet we're looking at a victim here. But the thing is, it also raises strange questions. Does this mean that Elliot's lesbian wife is now straight since she has a husband? These are genuine questions that are raised because of the definitions of the words that we're using. If you want to become a man and you are married to a man, then and you're in love with this man, then you are a straight woman if you're a woman. So you're no longer a lesbian. And this was raised, of course, on Twitter and reported on by Pink News, because that's how this kind of these cultural discussions are had now. So someone on Twitter had said, "But now you have a husband, I hope you're not a lesbian." Emma Portner, who's Elliot's wife, says, "I hope you know my sexual preferences and gender identity are none of your business. For me to decide, thank you. Release your labels of me, I am as fluid as can be." That's all well and good, and I agree. In a normal situation, I completely agree. But your partner has just come out and publicly announced, and one could say politicized, your relationship. He has made your relationship a public issue. This is happening to trans people. I am a trans person. I think that this needs to change. I'm going to try and make the world a better place. So you can't really just duck out of this and say, well, actually, I'm just whatever I want to be. My business is none of your business, because this has all been made into public business by your husband. So we kind of have to address that. And again, it's required from the definitions of the words we're using. So we ourselves have a consistent view of the world, so we can understand what's been going on. And so we're not put into a position where we're constantly in self-doubt. It's not fair to do that to people and say, well, I'm going to have it all my way and then none of your way. Again, it's not fair. But the question was put to Viggo Mortensen, and the difference here is because Viggo Mortensen had played a gay character in a movie, if we can go to the next one, and he is in a relationship with a Spanish actress, and so everyone's like, well, he's straight, he shouldn't be able to play a gay character. I mean, I don't think there's a problem with a straight man playing a gay character, a gay man playing a straight character, or anything like that. This is all about how the actor performs in the role, which was Mortensen's point, in fact. He said, people then ask, he said, the debate is a healthy one, but didn't think there was a problem. People ask me, what about Terry Chen, who plays my husband in the film? Is he a homosexual? And the answer is, I don't know. I would never have the temerity to ask someone if they were. How do you know? And how do you know what my life is? You're assuming that I'm completely straight. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. And it's frankly none of your business. I want my movie to work, and I want the character of John to be effective. I agree with this, but the woke lobby doesn't agree with this. Representation is a big aspect of what the sort of left-wing activists are promoting, and this is why Viggo Mortensen was interrogated in this way. Will Elliot Page, a ostensibly straight white male, be questioned for playing a woman on Twitter, in a movie? Sorry, no. In The Umbrella Academy, they will continue to play Vanya Hargreaves, which is the character, but the character is a straight woman, and a source has told Variety magazine that there are no plans to change the character's gender. So do the rules apply or not? Is it something that we have to take into account? Or is the status of being trans not the same as the status of transitioning to being a man? So trans men are men. We should treat them like men, and we should therefore demand that this female representation be played by a female, should we not? Again, if we were interested in being consistent. But I have to really wonder just how honest this all is, because it feels to me very much like a series of abstractions that have been agreed to by a bunch of people that have just declared it. I wasn't consulted, and so I just have further questions. So, how is it that this is going to actually impact her life? His life, sorry. Is Elliot going to now use the men's bathrooms? Is he going to live this out fully? If Elliot were to commit a crime that would get them sent to jail, are they going to go to a male prison, a prison for men? Because a very feminine, 5'1", an attractive person who looks like an attractive woman and made a career out of this, are we going to get that level of commitment from Elliot to the new role that he is playing? And would that be ethical? Would it be ethical to put someone who is female-bodied into a prison with a bunch of big butch men who probably work out and are probably there for pretty grimy reasons that would make you not want to put women in the same cells as them? Is that going to happen? I mean, are they genuinely going to be treated as a man? If he divorces from his wife, what's the settlement going to look like? How do the rules apply? Are they going to genuinely commit? All of these questions are left unanswered. They're not going to get any answers, and I might well be considered a bad person for even raising it. But on the plus side, the Ministry of Truth that is the kind of left-wing media machine has already come to the conclusions. No. You can go to the IMDb and just see everything has been changed. You know, there's no discussion here. There's nothing left to discuss, like left to question. You can go to the Wikipedia article, you can go to their IMDb, you can go to all of these and find that everything has been retroactively changed, as if through their entire life, this is how they have been. Everything about their previously female life seems to have been memory hold, and now everything is he or they. Very progressive. Anyway, folks, if you'd like more content from us, you can subscribe to the channel, or you can check out lotuseaters.com, where we have lots of news articles, analysis, and a members-only section where we have things like exclusive videos, exclusive op-eds from people that you will know and love, and, of course, our book club that you can join. At the moment, we've got the most recent ones. We've got Common Sense by Thomas Paine, where I'm talking about that. We have also George Orwell's Notes on Nationalism, Orwell being a particularly relevant author in this day and age, I would say. And tomorrow, we'll be recording one about Frank Dicotta's Dictators, which is a particularly fascinating book, looking at the pattern of dictatorship in the 20th century. It's a fascinating read, so join us over on the lotuseaters.com, or just lotuseaters.com even, and I'll see you in the next video.